Hey, this is Brandon Crawford from the San Francisco Giants, and you're listening to TortureCast.
You're listening to a podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants.
Let's go, Giants!
With hosts Willie Dills, Chad King, Ben Lee, and Eric Nathanson. Dedicated to the greatest team in Major League Baseball, the San Francisco Giants. This is TortureCast.
Standing on time, not gonna stop. We came to play, ain't slowing down. Falling on, we're here to stay, and we're stomping on whatever's in our way. I'm feeling like a Giant tonight.
It's Monday, February 6th, 2017, and this is episode 115 of the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants, and it is our first recording of the new year and the new administration. We're not going to really talk a bit too much about that. That's okay. Joining me tonight, though, all the way from Florida, is Eric Nathanson, who did remember how to operate his equipment, just like I did now. Hopefully this is actually recording. Eric, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I almost didn't. I was on mute for a little bit there, and I didn't even realize it. So we're halfway there. So I need some spring training.
Yeah, we need to work out the kinks here, but also working out the kinks is Ben from San Francisco. Ben, how you doing?
Does anyone remember how to microphone?
No, I don't.
Okay,
Using
this
my
should go
iPhone
great,
right now.
guys. This should go great.
So we are awakening from our long hibernation. Something about the Super Bowl always seems to just turn the page on the sports calendar, if you will. And
Nick
it really
desperately
does.
wish that baseball was going again because the alternative is football.
The alternative is football. And in the past, we've had a couple of episodes, of course, during the hot stove season, and we could have recorded, and we could have wrote some blogs, we could have tweeted, we could have Facebooked, but did we do any of that? Nah. We're busy and we're not paid to do this, guys. So
Yeah, it's been a long winter.
But we missed you all, and we hope that you're all as excited for the return of baseball as you are for the return of no, just be excited for baseball on second thought.
At least we care enough to do this. Just saying. More than most of. Never mind. So anyway, so before we do talk about baseball, because we do need to turn that proverbial page, let's talk about yesterday's game just briefly. Super Bowl 51, LI. And boy,
Super Bowl Lee.
We saw the third out of four major sports championships come down to just an amazing comeback. I mean, we had the Warriors. Oh God, I know that hurts still. Losing that 3-1 lead. We had the Indians doing the same thing. And now we have the Atlanta Falcons blowing a 25-point lead with, 2 minutes left in the third quarter? 3 minutes left? Whatever it was. It was 18 minutes, yeah. So 3 minutes left in the third quarter. So, is this foreboding for 49ers fans that Kyle Shanahan had that conservative play calling? You know how many running plays they had after they were up 28-3? Do you guys know that?
I wasn't paying nearly as much attention as I would like to pretend I was to be on a sports-themed podcast.
All right, well, then, if you don't know, then take a guess. How many running plays after 28-3?
You're gonna say some single-digit number. I want to say it was like 12. It's probably gonna be like 5.
2?
4.
All right.
4 running plays after you're up by 25 points. It was pretty astounding. I think most people do point to, 2 drop-back passes. One, which was a 3rd and 1 at the 40, which resulted in that fumble and a direct score after, 3 or 4 plays. And then you had the, 4.5 minutes left. They were inside the 30. They're at the 25-yard line. They had a 2nd and 11.
Julio just made the catch.
Julio made one hell of a catch. I thought it was out of bounds in real time. I mean, that's what it looked like. But, of course, slow-mo, it was like a freaking video game. The dude is just like, boom,
that guy's
done.
Amazing.
And it just put it all to waste. And you see, right. I had a couple of friends over. We had 2 or 3 families over at our house last night. And, we were sitting there going, okay, just feed him the ball 3 times. Whatever. It's a 3 and out, but, not a 3 and out. It's a 3 and field goal. You go up by 11. You're going to be under 3 minutes. Patriots are going to have to score twice, and so they're going to have to do an onside kick. It's going to reduce the chance of them doing this. Not that I put it past Tom Brady. I mean, in the alternate universe, maybe they still come back. We don't know that for sure. However, that being said, second 11 and he drops back, and the entire room erupted, just like, what are you doing? And sure enough, 7-step drop, gets sacked. Then the next play is a holding penalty, and suddenly it's 3rd and 33. I mean, it's that's like video game numbers. I mean, that doesn't even happen. And of course they punt. We know what happened after that, and after that, it was like, okay, Tom Brady is the greatest of all time, apparently, even if the Atlanta Falcons handed it to him. And even if the Seattle Seahawks shouldn't have passed in that last play, and even if blah, 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 we can go through all the
He
numbers.
still made the plays when they mattered. And
that's the point, right?
Yeah.
To take nothing away from Tom Brady, he did not do anything to screw up the game other than the interception early and not pass very well in the first half. But other than that...
That was so cool.
He didn't do anything
man.
late in the game to screw up the game.
There you go.
Oh, I thought the Falcons were going to run away with it after that pick six, man. I was like, all right. I didn't totally count New England out, but, it really felt like Atlanta was just going to roll over them. It was going to be like one of those Super Bowls from the 80s.
It was one of those things. It was 28-3, and it was like, okay, now not even freaking the New England Patriots are going to come back from this, right? There's just no way. There's no way. In fact, the sports ticker, they have the ESPN probability charts, had him at 99.9%.
Well, let me tell you about a little thing called...
Was it 100? Exactly.
It's never 100% until the game is over. I also feel bad, too, because Matt Ryan is going to end up getting and maybe it's somewhat deserved. Maybe you have to point it at the offensive coordinator or the head coach, obviously, but... Matt Ryan's going to get a reputation as the Clayton Kershaw of football.
Yeah, I mean,
welcome to the postseason, Matt Ryan. You may as well start booking your golf plans now. Like that sucks.
No, it's hard because it's going to affect their psyche. And the Atlanta Falcons they've never won a Super Bowl, and
right, and they've never been a bad team. And especially now, you've got Julio Jones on the. I can't believe I just said Julio. Revoke my podcast.
No. That's all right. All right. A professional NFL.com podcaster was saying Julio Jones on his podcast today.
Yeah, just because do better than that, though.
So, I see.
Oh man,
higher standard
or not? Yeah, sure. Why not? It's something like that.
No,
I don't think you guys need to be worried about Shanahan. I don't think that.
No, it's just a couple of plays. It's not a big deal in the realm of the 49ers. But
well, you have to know that the Falcons had the utmost confidence they were going to make those plays. They felt like they didn't need to run the ball because this is our offense. This is what we do. We've been doing it all year. I mean, they just came down the field. Devonta Freeman had another big run. Then they had that pass to Julio. They had no reason to think that they weren't going to get the next 22 yards and score. And that's got to be why he didn't run it into the line 3 times and then just kick the field goal. Although that it seems like they should because you're playing the clock at that point. You're not playing the Patriots anymore. You don't want to give the Patriots time. You want to force them to use timeouts.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They run 2 more times and they burn their timeouts, and they kick the field goal, and the Patriots got the ball back, or they scored, I should say, after they got the ball from the punt with 52 seconds left. So you have to assume that if the Falcons did kick a field goal, there'd probably be a little bit less than 52 seconds left. Who knows how much exactly, but certainly under a minute. And then they would have had to do an onside kick, and again, that is possible, could have happened. So that's why it's Tom Brady. It's Mr. America, it's Captain America. Who knows? He probably could have done it. He probably could have scored a 20-point touchdown for all we know. But regardless, it happened, and the Yankees won again, and it sucks. But it brought up an interesting point on Twitter. I was reading a lot about it. And, so many people hate the Patriots because of the fact that they're the Patriots and they've won so many Super Bowls, just like the Yankees and all the other teams of the past. But, I mean, the Giants, even though it's not 5 Super Bowls, it's 3 World Championships, but 3 and 5, I mean, the Giants really did garner quite a hating in national.
Oh, yeah. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
We're the villains everywhere outside of the Bay Area.
Which is kind of cool because, I've never felt that way as a
strange,
fan.
Right? Like, we're lovable villains, but we're still the villains.
It was like that for the 49ers, but I was much younger then. But, it was like that with the Giants, so I can understand. Everyone outside of New England is like, God damn it. It's supposed to be parody in the NFL, not Tom Brady's world. So, but
yeah, well, it is a
4-3,
parody
but
of
he's now 5-2. It is what it is.
Well, you know what? I'm as game to talk about long passes as anybody else, but and ridiculously long throws. But I like them better when they're Hunter Pence. So maybe let's turn to the topic a little bit.
Let's turn the page officially. Football is over.
Baseball.
We got quite a bit to catch up on in terms of transactions. We're not going to dwell on every single one, but I figured we have a list here of all of the transactions, and we'll definitely talk about some of the main ones. But I have a nice list here. Let's go in ascending order from oldest to most recent. As far as signings, we're not talking about DFA'd or whatever. Let's just talk about signings. So back in December, they did sign Corey Guerin. He avoided arbitration, so that's good. He's a solid guy there in the bullpen. And obviously, right after that, on the heels is the big plug, the big sign of the year, I guess everyone could agree with, and that's Mark Melancon from the Washington Nationals, who signed a 4-year contract with the Giants. And so I was looking at this, and we all know we beat the dead horse a million times last year. 32 blown saves, 9 in the 9th inning, and this is a major hole they needed to fill. And of course, the crescendo was the Cubs series, in which they blew that through in a lead in the 9th, and that just forced the Giants. It forced their hand. I got to be honest with you, and it, again, alternate universe kind of talking about this, Berenstein Bears kind of thing. Sorry, that's a long. If you guys know what I'm talking about, that's
well
another
played.
side topic. That's a very interesting one. I'm still freaked out about that. If the Giants had actually gone deep into the postseason,
What?
I'll tell you about it later, Eric.
Explain another time.
It's bizarre, and I'm totally
involves Reddit and some other really crazy stuff, and we'll come back to it. But yeah, alternate universe wise, the Giants go farther in the postseason. Do they still feel like they need to make a bullpen move, or like the bullpen, no matter how it did getting them to the postseason, if the bullpen had held up during the postseason, do they still feel like they need to make this big of a postseason move? But I actually want to say that I wouldn't rule it out. I think the Giants always like to make wise moves, but still there's often a push for one kind of splashy move. It doesn't mean that they're going to do it every season, but I think that in this case, we knew there was a lot of stuff that was going to end up coming off the books, and there were mumblings that the bullpen was going to end up changing pretty drastically because of their overall performance anyway. It's not impossible to think that they were looking at Melancon early on as a potential free agent they wanted to go after, and that they didn't necessarily get pushed into it just by the fact that the bullpen blew up during the postseason. I think that I agree that it tipped their hand. It might have taken them from like 5 potential options down to like 2.
Yeah.
But Melancon ended up being like a major target for a lot of teams, and it's strange for us sometimes still to have major targets want to come here. Like starting with like even as recently as like Durant, everybody was like, "There's no way that I would like maybe this team is actually really good now. He might want to come here." Melancon got a really really competitive offer and a 4-year contract. Like I don't blame him, but I do wonder, was Melancon the only target that they had, or did they get narrowed down by the way the postseason turned out?
Yeah, it was almost like a gun
I
held
think
to their
he was
heads.
the only target.
Yeah.
Well, $62 million worth, right?
I mean,
I'll pitch for that.
Yeah,
that's
right.
what I mean.
Well, I mean, it was a market value contract because this year happened to be the year of the closers. But if you look at the Giants' recent history, we knew that they needed started pitching during last offseason. That was a topic. They went out and they got starting pitching. They seemed to tinker like just enough. We knew they needed another bat, a couple of years ago, and they went out and got Morse, and then it morphed into other stuff. And I think this year it's just the same. They kind of just rotate around the diamond, and they focus on the one area, and the bullpen was it this time around. I mean, none of the other moves they made are splashy at all, including the return of said Morse. But, Melancon, I don't know if they necessarily got back into it. I think they knew by August that they were shopping for a closer in the offseason, if not July.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people criticize this as saying, oh, he doesn't throw very hard, he had one good year, but no, when you break it down, I don't think it's any fluke. He averaged 72 innings and a 1.8 ERA over the last 4 years. So, I mean, okay, yeah, he throws 92, 93. He doesn't quite strike out one per inning, but he's making it work. and he's done it over 4 seasons. So it's not, it's not crazy to think that he's going to have a couple good years in San Francisco. And if he's a 2.5 ERA or lower, which is, of course, much worse than his last 4 years, I think most Giants fans are going to be happy with that. Considering that Casilla last year was 3.5.
Yeah, the bar is set a little lower for bullpen this year.
Exactly.
As far as being, how far will it take until you're disappointed? Do better than last year.
Yeah, and they blew 9 saves in the 9th inning last year, and Melancon blew 4 last year. But he was 47 and 51. I mean, that's a high number. It's right, high threshold there. So, a few less opportunities, maybe it's only 3 blown saves. Point being, if you take that apples to apples in the exact clone of a season, which we'll never get, I get that. But the argument can be
that's all you have to go on, so go for it.
That's all we have to go on. That gains the Giants 5 more wins, and that's huge. I mean, that's huge. So over last season, that is. So, it's definitely a worthy signing.
It's a division title.
Yeah.
Well, how many of those blown saves last year were we pointing to as saying that could have been a win, that could have been a win, that could have been a win? Yeah, 5 wins matters, especially in
some of those
in the NL West, especially.
Weren't only 9 were in the 9th inning, right?
Right.
But some of those were 2-run leads and they tied it. And they go to extra innings and they lost. So those were blown saves, but they weren't counted as blown saves in the 9th. So it's it's still a game they should have won. So it's really higher than 9. They just don't keep those exact stats. You have to go back into the box scores to really understand how many games they could have actually won. Not going.
It was something I think it was 30 altogether of blown something.
It was 32
leads or
blown
something.
saves. Yeah, it was bad.
Regardless. To be honest, though, I mean, Melancon on paper looks like an improvement over the season that the Giants had last year. But of course, on paper, the Giants bullpen last year looked great. So we'll see how it pans out. But overall, given Melancon's recent history, not that we expected the bullpen to, parts of the bullpen to implode in the way that they did last year. I mean, other parts maybe we thought we might have seen it coming, but some of them were big surprises. But still, on paper, I'm feeling pretty good about the Melancon pickup, knowing that the contract had to be market value because Melancon was one of maybe the 2 most valuable relievers on the market, period. Yeah. And you end up paying a premium in any given year for whoever is going to be the best. Even if you look at the rest of the league and say next year there's going to be 4, 5, 6 relievers with better records going into potentially free agency, it doesn't matter because you need it now. Yeah, and given that in mind, I'm not mad about the Melancon contract.
No. I think it was great, and there were top 3 closers that were out on the market. And the other 2 I didn't want. It was, Jansen and Chapman.
I have no interest in either. Exactly. Jansen has been good in the past, but didn't have I also Jansen was a Dodger, so it's just hard for me to be okay with that. And Chapman has a history. We like to see the Giants as being a relatively forward-thinking team based out of a relatively forward-thinking city, and Chapman's got baggage at this point, and it's baggage that I personally would not be okay with having on the team, and that was true for a lot of people who were watching the Giants kind of circle around the closers on the market. So,
and I think that is realistically the reason the Giants never pursued Chapman.
Yeah,
I think they knew the fan base, and I think they knew Chapman wanted to stay in New York, and that's why they're we're not going to go after this guy. Nobody would want him.
If he didn't have that baggage, I mean, pound for pound, I would have absolutely invested another $10 million in Chapman. I would have. But,
yeah.
Hell yeah!
Purely by talent. But the baggage is huge. It's in this city, especially. You're going to get you have a very active social media fan base for the team, and you've got a very generally forward-thinking fan base overall. Majority. Yeah, Chapman's going to be huge amounts of negative press. And in fairness,
we're not going to just forget about it in a few years.
By comparing the 2, Melancon wasn't going to be a huge downgrade because Chapman can be inconsistent at times, and Melancon, honestly, Melancon's track record over the last few years was absolutely good enough. And with the changes in the bullpen, I think that there's a lot of potential for some of the younger kids to really step it up and show off a lot of what they've been showing off over the last season. So,
and I think the Giants marketing staff is going to have a field day with Melancon. This dude is charismatic. He is funny. He is quirky. He's odd. He's and he kind of looks like just a normal guy. You know what I mean? He's not your 6'4" left-hand, Caribbean throwing whatever fireballer. I mean, he looks like your average Joe, and he's funny as hell. And I just think the Giants are going to exploit that in a good way. I mean it in a good way.
Well,
Where,
the Giants love
he's gonna reach out
lovable
to
guys
the
on
fans.
this team.
Exactly. So there'll be a new nickname for him coming up. I feel it. It's going to be this year. It's going to happen.
He's going to be an animal. We'll find out which animal he is soon enough.
What spirit?
I don't know.
They should call him.
Right.
They should call him Milk Chocolate because he's Eminem.
Oh, it already hurts. We're already starting here, folks. You heard it here first.
Man.
Even
Mark
if you didn't want
Melanson.
to.
Milk
Is he,
Chocolate.
Is he a peanut M&M? Is he a crispy M&M? Is he a... Never mind.
Is he just peanut
Well,
butter because he's so smooth? Anyway.
All right, so a couple of the other signings. Boy, we have some familiar faces. Of course, we have Bay Area native Jimmy Rollins getting signed to a minor league contract just before Christmas, as well as Michael Morse, which is, wow, okay. Morse is back in the
Welcome
fold.
back. Yeah.
Welcome back. I mean, it's funny how just a year and a half ago, we were pining for this guy. I mean, a lot of fans were there. It's like, yeah, we need this guy back. He was so critical, blah, blah, blah. When you break down his stats, obviously he wasn't anything special. He just had special moments, and he was such a great character in the pen, or not the pen, in the bench with Hunter Pence and everything like that. So I don't know if he has a good chance of making the team, but it's good to see him back, I guess. And then Jimmy Rollins, same thing. He's a serviceable major leaguer, but again, will he make the team? With the Giants, it seems like they tend to invite these older guys to spring training, and for some reason they seem to squeak onto the roster. I kind of see Rollins making it. What about you guys?
Honestly,
I think. Go ahead.
Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, in fairness, we have brought back. We didn't get to it yet, but we have brought back a number of people of infield and infield bench from last year. And so, I mean, you've already got like two different guys that can rotate around at the third base position. But Jimmy Rollins has enough of a track record that if he can like find any spark of like old Philly Jimmy Rollins at all, I think that he probably is the lead for the last infield bench spot. And Morse, the outfield's gotten a little thin, man. It's been a little thin, and it's gotten a little thinner, and I miss Blanco already.
No, you know what?
Bit.
I forgot to add that to the notes. We got to talk about the outfield in just a minute, because that's a major point. So
yeah,
so
but like I think
it's just
think
one
Morse is
infield.
blocked,
It's just
but-
one outfield position, though. I think Rollins.
well, but bench wise, I think Morse is a fifth outfielder.
I
off
gotta
the bench.
say, I think both. No, I love both. I love Morse, and I think it's fun that Rollins is in camp, but I think they're playing for just other teams. I think that the Huang, the Korean guy, is that what he is?
Yeah.
From what I've been reading, he might be able to come in and get work, and then they got him on the bench. You got Gillespie on the bench, and you've got Nunez who can bounce all over. You still might have Kelby. I don't think there's enough room for somebody like Jimmy Rollins right now. I think they're playing for,
Hmm.
hopefully catching on with somebody else by the end of the spring training.
Yeah, and
Yeah, that's
injuries
fair.
always happen too. So, I mean, invariably, there's always one guy that goes down, and that usually is what opens the door for one of these veterans. So,
Yeah,
I wouldn't be
even if it's
surprised
not
if that
here, it
happens.
might be somewhere else. There might be
yeah, of
another
course.
team that says, "Yeah, we'll promise you a major league contract," and he gets signed.
Yeah, could be.
So the other signings, which were expected, of course, Connor Gillespie, George Contos, Eduardo Nunez, Will Smith. Ari Adrianza was DFA'd, picked up by the Brewers, and then promptly DFA'd by Milwaukee as well. So,
He's a Twin.
oh, was he signed by the Twins? Okay, I missed that.
Yeah, he was picked up by the Twins today.
Oh, today. All right. Well, there you go. So I don't think anyone's going to shed a tear for Adrianza. So, but you know,
Right.
you
He
A
we're
new
was a player.
speechless over Adrianza.
he was a player that played.
He was serviceable.
He was
He
a
was-
giant.
He was a
played in
giant.
San Francisco. Yes.
Absolutely.
But
So anyway.
I would say a mild shocker, not a shocker, but it's like, oh, hey, look at who they got, Nick Hundley.
I had a good laugh about that.
That was interesting. One of the old
Like,
giant killers.
Nick Hundley is just trying to be the catcher's Octavio Dotel. I feel like,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's
or
just
like the
He's
or just
so
the NL
old.
West Octavio Dotel.
No, he's 33.
God, he's like
He's 33.
Okay,
so
Which
he's-
in catching
No,
years,
I
that
still
is old.
remember-
I get it.
Sure, but I still remember Nick Hundley being like a young up and comer, and we all know how late I got back to baseball. So for me, remembering Nick Hundley being young and up and coming, it can't be that long ago.
No, he's
so,
33.
yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
But, he hit 10 home runs last year in part-time work. So, you look, he's going to hit more than your average backup for Buster Posey, so we're going to see what happens. However, his defensive metrics are pretty poor, so it's kind of a hit-and-miss kind of thing. It's like, oh, you might get a few extra, round trippers, but at the expense of, a few runs allowed in that position. But, I think it's a serviceable signing. I don't have any problems with it.
Well, don't you think it's kind of nice to finally have a backup catcher that's not, unknown Trevor Brown and, up and coming Andrew Susac or Hactor. Like, Hundley's been around the block for a little bit. We haven't had that kind of stability in the backup catcher position in quite a few years. I can't even just maybe all the way since Benji. I can't think of anybody else who backed up Buster in the meantime that wasn't, younger or something like that.
No, and if he
Where
has
we-
a pretty good start to the year, I wouldn't be surprised to see Buster playing a little bit more at first base. We've assumed this is going to happen for the last 3 years, and it's just not. He's not really increasing his time at first base that much. But I would say this is a potential if Nick is, Hundley is going to be, starting off as good as we hope he is going to. Maybe Buster's going to play a little bit more first base and save those legs.
That's maybe. Although I think that's also going to depend on Belt.
Yeah, Brandon Belt. Oh boy.
Brandon Belt has every chance has equal chances at this point of leaping out and seizing the hell out of the first base and getting himself every playing time as he does getting rotated into regular breaks. Like, I don't know. Like, that's all I got is, I don't know.
He's got to avoid cold streaks. That's what he does.
Going to hit a massive hot streak at some point.
He is all or nothing Belt, and that kind of segues right into the outfield. And I don't know, man. We got Span in center, and we got Pence in right. Left field, of course, is going to be the platoon position, which could involve Belt at some point, especially considering the fact that Pence, who was pretty much an Iron Man 2 years ago, is no longer that. He's been injured the last 2 years for a significant amount of time, so I can't expect him to be playing 150 games this year. You just can't rely on that. So assuming that does not happen, and of course Span is aging as well, he missed quite a bit of time too, you're going to be spreading these outfielders to these three positions for probably a third of the season or a quarter of the season. So that opens up the door for guys like Belt and others, even Gorkys Hernandez and
Gorkys,
others.
yeah, that's all I could think of as you're talking. Gorkys is the guy to save it all. Because
It's
you're
going to be
rotate.
Gorkys Hernandez, everyone.
He's the key.
Yeah. Well, he is. Hear me out. Because Parker and Williamson are going to platoon left field.
That sounds
and you're
like
right,
a baseball
Pence-
player himself, Parker Williamson, by the way.
Yeah, you're right about
You're
that.
not wrong.
And then Pence is suddenly Glass Joe now, so he's going to spend some time on the shelf. So Parker or Williamson can also shift there, but Gorkys is free to move around as well. On those other days on the platoon shifts that are needed in the outfield spot that's not currently being used, if that makes sense. Gorkys.
Gorkys is going to be the plug the holes.
He is the key. He can be the outfield key. I mean, we were talking about Kelby Tomlinson last year. So I mean, it's an upgrade at least. Gorkys proved his worth last year. I really thought he did. He seems like he could be a good Giant. The Gregor Blanco, if you will.
Right.
I mean, did you guys expect? I mean, I did. I expected them to sign a closer and an outfielder. Maybe not a prime time significant free agent, but someone. They didn't sign anyone.
No, I thought they shot their load with the closer, and that was it. I really did.
You think so?
Yeah.
Just decided, all right, anyway, nailed that. We're done.
Yeah, they felt like Parker and Williamson. In their minds, they didn't put all this time and work in on Parker and Williamson to have both of these guys, neither of these guys take it. You know what I mean? I think that they felt that they have to give them a fair fight in camp if one of them can grab it from the other, or just go with a straight platoon. And if it's not working, look at options during the trade deadline. I think the Giants would be more interested in the bat at the trade deadline this year than they have in the last couple of years when we've been talking about pitching.
Well,
that's a fair point, but I think it'll
If Parker can hit as many home runs as his machismo level exudes, then the Giants are going to be fine. So.
If he hits like he swaggers,
yeah, they'll be fine. Dude, I swear, every time that guy comes to bat, I swear, I think. Well, I said Parker. I meant Williamson. Sorry.
Yeah.
Every time
okay,
Williamson comes
now
to
I
bat,
see what you're talking about.
Sorry. He's like freaking Paul Bunyan, man. Every time he comes to bat, I think he's going to hit the ball into the scoreboard, and
Right.
Anyway.
He's a good fielder too. I want him to just grab the job. That's what my ideal situation is a Mac and Pence outfield. That's my ideal situation. I hope that Mac grabs it. And I think that the Giants, that's why they stayed in house. They're like, this is what we got. It's $190,000 million payroll or something already. I think they're tired of spending for all these champions.
Yeah, I know. They're already in a luxury tax, so they had to cut.
That's true.
The luxury tax penalties
one
are
of what,
harsher
5
this year,
teams,
so.
right?
Yeah,
something like that.
It is that. So okay, let's
not
talk
a whole
about.
lot. We're in rarefied air, folks. Oh boy.
I know this is weird. Like 5 years ago, we wouldn't have been talking about this, but this is the
no.
This is the fallout from 3 World Series championships. It's the expectation that you have to perform, and of course they've paid off the stadium, right? So, it's like, okay, look, you're not even paying off the stadium anymore. You guys are making money, so it's a little luxury tax. Let's get some more trophies here, but that's a lot to expect. We don't run the team. So let's talk about the players that have left the Giants. This is the in memoriam segment where we have the sad black and white flickering video with the violin going. So Chris Heston, of course, traded to Seattle. He just was a pitcher who had brief flashes, of course, including the no-hitter in 2015. Looked like he was going to be the next great starter for the Giants. It just was not meant to be. He was inconsistent. He was riddled with injuries, and of course, he is now gone. Thank you, Mr. Chris Heston. We also have Casilla signed with the A's, and I think many Giants fans are finally done with him. We defended him for years. I'm just going to say on this podcast, we defended him, and then finally last year we said, get him out.
Like we're done. We're done. We're done.
We defended. We loved you for so long, and now you've bitten us in the ass.
You were all right. No, we're done. Yeah.
So he's back to the team that originally drafted him. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. We have Gregor Blanco to the Diamondbacks. He obviously amazing things with the Giants, amazing moments, I should say, with the Giants, including the perfect game-saving catch, which will go down in the Giants' lore for Matt Cain.
I had no idea who Gregor Blanco was when he made that catch. I'd never heard of him before.
Really?
Yes, before he made that catch, before that night. In 2012, I didn't really get the chance to tune into the season until a week before that. And so that was the first year Gregor was with the team. I had no idea who the heck this guy was. All I knew was amazing that he ran from one spot to the other spot to make that catch. from right field. Think about it. He was the right fielder that day. And like we've thought about Hunter Pence in right field from later that year, since then. So that's, always what it's been. But I had no idea who the hell Blanco was before that day. And since that day, always love him.
No, he's one of those guys where he just seems like a normal guy. He's short. He's shorter than me. I've talked to him a couple of times, and he's a small, not very stout guy, but athletic as hell, and all the talent in the world and all the motivation in the world. So, I personally wish him well with Arizona. Hope he does well there. Just what's interesting is that the Giants do have the outfield gaps right now. Pardon the pun. And I'm a little surprised they didn't re-sign him. I know he hasn't been the best, but at the same time, he's familiar with the organization. Bochy knows how to play him, how to use him in the lineup. So I really did think they were going to hold on to him. So I'm a little surprised about this move.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Do they think that Gorkys was going to be a suitable? I don't know.
Gorkys
we have lots of opinions.
Gorkys.
Save us.
Yeah. Lots of opinions on Gregor.
Gorkys is going to become the new mascot of TortureCast. Gorkys is going to be the guy. All right, go on.
All right, we're going to play this again in August, and we're going to laugh at you. So we have
everyone. I don't know.
So the core four. I mean, I hate to say it. We talked about it pre-show. The core four is gone, guys. The core four is gone. We have, Jeremy Affeldt, of course, has retired before the 2016 season. Javier Lopez is a free agent. Sergio, I was going to talk about him in a second. Santiago Casilla, of course, is with the A's. And now Sergio Romo, as of 2 days ago, has officially signed with his hometown team, the one he rooted for, the team he rooted for as a kid, the Los Angeles Dodgers. And it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to see it.
It hurts.
But,
even if you get it, it hurts.
He had 2 offers, and the mystery team, as they keep talking about, I haven't heard who that team was, but regardless, if he only had 2 offers, look, this is a business, right? I mean, the Giants obviously were done with him. I don't know if I fully agree with that move, but I can't say it was the wrong move yet. He had a 2.64 ERA with the Giants this year, and he was perfect in save opportunities, 6 for 6. It's not like he was horrible. But I think most people recognize that he was playing with fire. He had lost some velocity on his fastball. His slider, of course, which is his go-to pitch, was hanging a lot more than it had in the past. And I think the scouts and the Giants organization realized that. And I think they said to themselves, he's 33 years old. He's not going to get any better. So it's time to cut our ties. Kind of like the Bill Walsh attitude, where he's still good, but he's not good enough for our team. So let him go. We're going to take the next guy that comes in.
Well, it's interesting that you frame it like that, because Sergio going to the Dodgers, I think it's also a health thing too. I don't think that the Giants trust his health. I don't think they have for a little bit. He's like got a trick knee that seems to go out on him. Yeah. I think what has always struck me over the last few years is pitchers, especially. We don't see guys leave the Giants and have success. I mean, can you think of any Giants relief pitcher that left the team over the last few years and suddenly was some, great and came back to haunt them or anything like that?
Brian Wilson.
It just doesn't happen. But he didn't come back to burn us. You know what I mean? Like,
I was joking.
That's
exactly. It's not even close.
Every single guy. And like, I love Sergio to death. I do. Exactly. They cut it at the right time. The scouts you mentioned, they're brilliant. They cut it at the right time. Sergio's great. I love him. I'll never forget the first time I was at the ballpark and Sergio came out. Like just the El Machon came on and it was like goosebumps. It was seeing everybody just get up and dance. It was a party back in it was 2013 for that. But it was when he was the closer. But the Giants have a knack for getting rid of guys when they've reached their limit. Yeah, they seem to understand that. So I for some reason don't think that Romo's going to be something to worry about. And I don't want to say I hope I'm wrong because he's a flippin' Dodger.
No,
That's fair.
I think I want to frame this in the context of, and I don't want to speak for other Giants fans, but I'm not worried about him, killing the Giants as a Dodger. It's just the nostalgic factor of it. You don't want to see your Giants, your cuddly, lovable Giants who have won a couple of World Series going to the arch rivals. That's all. Because you know why?
I agree with that.
Because not only, you don't want to see him fail, and you don't want to see him succeed against the Giants. So it's a tough situation to be in as a fan, because it's like, okay, succeed, but not against the Giants and not enough to win the West. Like, how do you?
Right.
It's tough waters to navigate. And if he flames out, then you feel bad for him, even if it's at the expense of the Dodgers season. It sucks. It sucks.
It's like Tim Lincecum with anybody. On the bright side, he went to a team in the AL, but the fact remains you want to see him do well, and then what it feels like to watch him and see him not have the success that you remember him having. Yeah. And it's going to be the same way for Sergio, except that I'm going to be in this weird, I won't be able to decide if it's if he succeeds, I won't be able to decide if I'm proud of him or if I'm worried for my team. And if he doesn't, I'm not going to be able to decide between sadness and sympathy and schadenfreude.
Yeah.
He's going to be so hyped up for that first time facing the Giants.
Oh, yes, he totally is. Romo's always had a chip on his shoulder.
Right.
Yes. It is also going to be weird. But, he's the type to, he doesn't even necessarily have a chip on his shoulder because he's, angry about something. He wants to, show up. He's always wanted to show up. It doesn't always happen, but he's always wanted to show up. And I respect that a lot. But we'll see how it pans out.
So that was my most depressing signing of the year. I don't know about you guys so far.
Anybody going to the Dodgers from the Giants is a depressing move.
I mean, there's a long history of this. We got.
Oh yeah, it happens.
Look at Dusty Baker, Brett Butler, Oral Hershiser. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I mean, there's a lot of incest.
It goes both ways too.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It's a strange form of mutual respect.
It is. It's strange. No matter how much the teams
also,
hate each other, it shows you how much the ball players, I think you were just going to say, the ball players are like, okay, I hate this team, but it's a business, and this is my best opportunity. So,
or even, I know that the people that like me hate this team, but it's a business. Because I don't think they necessarily hate the teams.
It's California, man.
Yeah,
they just don't want to leave California. They don't want to leave it. I totally think that's part of it. I think they like playing in California. I think that's what happens with some of these guys. You've seen guys, they go up and down the West Coast teams.
Well, I mean, he had two offers, right?
Too.
And one of the guys I work out with at my CrossFit gym, he's a huge Dodgers fan, and he was teasing me this morning about Romo. Going, Romo got, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yeah. But we both agreed with one thing, and that it's a business. And if you worked for Google and you got laid off or your contract expired, let's say, and you're a serviceable programmer or engineer or marketing person, and Apple gives you a contract, an offer, are you going to turn that down? Hell no. I mean,
right.
You're trying to feed your family. You're trying to, earn your keep. So,
and are you going to turn that down for rinse? Exactly. the maybe you would prefer to work at one over the other, maybe you feel odd about accepting one after having worked it somewhere else, but you have to weigh out what's going to be the best for you long term, and sometimes that means following the money, especially in sports.
Yeah, especially the
being
new
back
one
to your hometown.
Yeah, and it shows more interest than your old one. If the old one doesn't show interest, you're going to want to go where you're wanted anyways.
And that's that's a real crucial point you bring up there, Eric, is that he's been interviewed by many journalists, including MLB Network, and he said, I want to be with the Giants, but they haven't offered me anything. So that tells
and I don't
me,
think that I don't think any of us think that they were going to, as much as it's a shame. It's you got to follow the money and you got to go where you're wanted. And I don't want to think that anybody is going to fault Sergio long term for making the move, but I totally get why a lot of people were really upset in the short term because we can't control the Giants wanting him, and we're all upset that he's not going to stick around from a personal standpoint, but. Yeah. He needs to go where he's wanted, and to be honest, as much as we like him as a person, he's not what the Giants need in the bullpen right now based on his previous performance. And in the end, that's what it boils down to. It's not it's not just your marketability. It's not just your, catchy theme music, even though it means that people are going to love you and they're going to still think fondly of you. In the end, you can't have what happened last year to the bullpen keep happening throughout the season because you have loyalty to a guy too far. And it sucks.
Well, no matter what happens with him in the next 5 years, when they have their 10, 20, and 30-year reunions.
The World Series reunions.
Yeah. He's going to show up, and everyone's going to love him.
That's what's up.
He will show up, and that will be what's up. Yeah.
I'm illegal.
I just look illegal.
He just looks illegal.
I just look illegal. Thank you.
So
I don't think Trump really cares about that. But anyway. Sorry. Didn't mean to get political. Sorry. I know.
No, we can't do that.
Republican friends who do like the Giants. We love you. We do. Trying to be non-political.
Yeah, Republicans buy sneakers too, man.
All right, so let's talk about the...
Michael Jordan said when he was asked why he doesn't get political.
Can't see my head literally in my hands right now. Okay. Hey, let's talk
Ben.
about...
I did not mean to go there. I really
Let's talk about a lineup. Let's talk about people
lineup.
that will be here. Let's talk about people that will still be here next season. Let's do that.
Okay, so...
We talked a lot about people that won't be here next season. That's sad. Moving on.
I know, right? Does this lineup make sense? We got Span in the leadoff spot. Belt, number 2, which, of course, was a recent change over last season. Posey 3rd, Pence 4th, Crawford 5th, Nunez 6th, Panic 7th, and Parker 8th. That's your generic course lineup. That's going to change from day to day, but what do you guys think? Discuss.
I mean, platooning aside, because you aren't going to put platooning into a projected lineup unless you're really feeling masochistic. I think that at the beginning of the season, this seems totally reasonable to me because it's going to be based off of their previous performance, their history, and obviously it'll be based a little on how they do in spring training, but Span as a leadoff guy when he was healthy at the beginning of the season was pretty reasonable. He's a little bit faster. His speed functions better in the one slot than it does in other parts of the lineup. And especially the way that he came out of the gate last year, Belt was a perfect spot to throw in second, even though it felt weird because it felt like he should be batting fourth. Just because we see him as like a guy who will run into one and have some power. It is weird to see Panic farther down in the lineup, but I think Panic has every opportunity to, depending on how Belt does, I think Panic has every opportunity to recapture that 2 slot later in the season. But I do agree that I don't think he'll start there.
I'm not so sure that we can even what's Nunez? I'm not even sure Nunez has the third base job yet. I think Hwang, the Korean guy, I'm really high on what I've read about him. I could totally see him fitting in a Bruce Bochy lineup. He doesn't strike out much. He's a very much keep the line moving type player, and it would put Nunez back into the super utility role. And I think that could shoot Panic back to the top of the lineup behind Span towards the beginning of the year, so that Huang hits lower down the lineup to get him some reps early on. That's just like, for some reason, I'm like stuck on this guy making the team. But other than that, if he doesn't, I wouldn't mind seeing Nunez if he's getting the everyday. I liked him leading off. I liked his speed. I liked the fact that he was an absolute threat just every time he stepped in there. He had smart at bats, and Denard's getting old, man. Denard's not young. He's a decent for what he is, which is a good glove, okay bat type center fielder.
I actually want to know, because Eric, you were mentioning earlier, there's every chance that Mac Williamson reaches out there and takes that left field position over Jarrett Parker. If Mac Williamson were starting the season instead of Jarrett Parker in left field, do you move Mac up in the lineup, or do you leave him in the 8 spot?
Ooh, I move Mac up in the lineup at that point then, because you can get a murderer's row of like Posey, Pence, Crawford, and Williamson. But then again, you got to break it up too at some point with the lefties, But you bring Span down. God, I'm looking at it now, and Panic's the only way to really break that up. And maybe you slot him farther down for that reason and leave Belt up there. God, the Giants are good, y'all. They got a lot of talent again. I mean, these are really good problems to have.
Yeah, a lot of switch hitters, a lot of lefties too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what makes it tough though. Posey, Pence, and Williamson would be the bats. You're right. Crawford breaks it up with the left-handed bats. Nunez switch. Yeah, I would move Mac up in the lineup, I think, at that point, but not much higher. I mean, how much higher can you go than 6th?
I mean, with Williamson, I don't think you can safely get much higher than 6. Because I don't think that he's I don't think he's been consistent enough yet, and I don't know that he ever will be to the point where he belongs any higher. I think that he's super serviceable in the 6 and below slots, though. I think that what we saw out of him last year with some more time and some more comfort might very well totally make it work. I think that I would probably throw Williamson higher than Parker also, but I think that if you throw, the problem is, hitting wise, based on their consistency from last year, it's one thing, but like in my gut, based on his speed, if you're going to move Williamson up in the lineup, I want Nunez in 8th or Span, one or the other.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That totally makes sense.
It does.
Oh man, I hope we like. It's funny because
the Giants. So
I'm curious to see,
World Series, but whatever.
Right. No, clearly we know better.
Good.
We're overqualified by.
It's because he calls Ben that he has 3 World Series rings. Damn it, Chad.
Guys, hold on. I have a very gruff voice on the other end of my phone right now. I'll be right back.
All right. So the rotation, I think, is a little less, squirrely, shall we say. Obviously, Bum, Cueto, Smarja, Moore, top 4. I don't think anyone can dispute that. Now, spring training is going to reveal, I should say, what is going to dictate who is going to be the 5th starter. And we got, I think, the leading candidates, of course, are Ty Block and Matt Cain. I'm pulling for Matt Cain just because, they're paying him $20 million a year. He's Matt Cain, and he's like the oldest Giant, the longest tenured Giant. So you don't want to see that fail, but at the same time, you got to go with the hot hand. So Ty Block showed a hell of a lot of promise down the stretch. So what do you guys think is going to happen?
I think Matt Cain is blocking. Damn it, I screwed it up.
Blocking.
Yeah, I was trying. Didn't work.
That was
damn.
I like the effort, though. The effort was good. Yeah.
Right. Do you think Cain's contract pushes Block's talent out of the way, or Cain's history pushes a young and still determining how consistent he is Block out of the way? Like, what do you
think
think is that gives him the edge?
I think Kane. No, I think it's the combination of the two. It really is.
Yeah.
It's literally those two factors. I mean, they
Kane
invested
is not
so much
Aaron
in it.
Rowan. Let's just say that Kane's not Aaron Rowan. There is absolutely still potentially plenty of value there, especially in the 5-hole. Like, he could be an absolutely like either serviceable or freaking outstanding fifth starter if he goes in there. But there's also that nagging feeling at the back of your head that Ty Block could be better right now at this moment.
Yeah.
Well, my fear is that Kane beats him out and then goes out there and just absolutely craps all over the place for a month. And at the end of the season, looking back, after Block goes 14-2 and has a 1.98 ERA, going, what the shit, Bochy? What are you doing? Like, why didn't you start this kid early? I just hope that doesn't happen. I think Kane, if he doesn't get it, I think he could take a bullpen role. I think he'd be willing to do it. The Giants can't wipe that money off the books. You know what I mean? It's guaranteed money in baseball. They can't wipe it off. So if Kane's willing to shuffle around, and do the bullpen, and I really think Kane would do it. I think Kane likes being around Buster and likes being around Bumgarner and likes being around and Pence and the clubhouse and that particular clubhouse. I think Kane would shuffle over to the bullpen and be the long guy for a little bit if he had to or anything like that, and they'd let Block do it. But I think because of the contract and all that, Kane's look is through a different colored lens.
It's
I don't
tough
want it.
because-
I just think that's what's going to happen. I think Kane's going to win it out. I love Manny Kane. I think Ty Block is a better pitcher right now. Absolutely. But I think.
But you think in spring training that may not shake out that way, even though during the regular season it might turn out differently.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, the last 2 years he's got a 5.5 ERA. I mean, we keep rooting for Matt Cain. We want him to be the pitcher that he was, or at least close to it. And his career ERA is still 3.57, which is astounding considering his last.
Considering a couple of bad years.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It tells you how good of a pitcher he was. It's hard. It's hard because the Giants obviously committed to him through 2020, right, or 2019. Anyway, another 2 or 3 years, and $20 million per year. So they got to use him. It's guaranteed money, and so there's no shame in bringing him into the bullpen if that's what he needs to do. So,
I mean, the thing with the Giants is they've never. Yeah, they didn't not spend money because of Kane's contract. You know what I mean? He's not like a Zito Albatross in any way, shape, or form. It's a totally different thing with Kane. Like, he earned that money, and the Giants know it and he knows it, which is why he'll probably do anything. That's why it doesn't feel so like dirty almost, that's why it feels okay with Kane. We're all okay with this, that he's getting $20 million a year to be yeah, it is. It absolutely is.
Those two have always been connected in strange ways. They'd only get stranger, apparently.
They stop pitching at the same time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well.
It could be like the Colorado Rockies talking about Mike Hamilton and shit like that. So, these are good problems to have. I'm just saying.
They're a talented team.
So.
I mean, I said it earlier. Last year before the offseason, we're like, oh God, we need starting pitchers. Here you're like, okay, we got the first 4 locked into place, no problem. We didn't have that same luxury the last few years. I mean, they won in 2014 with Madison Bumgarner and a bunch of mules throwing, as starting pitchers. So it's kind of amazing that we're sitting here. And you're like, Bum's good, Cueto's good, Smarja, Moore. We know what we're going to get with them. I mean, the Giants have a wealth of pitching talent. They on paper, they're like up there with the Dodgers and the Cubs right now.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they didn't have more for the entire year, so now you do.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Can't wait to
that's
see
true.
what that kid does too. I really like that kid.
Yeah. I'm hoping for a lot of like these guys have all proven themselves to be really solid. I might even slot more above Samardzija on the rotation right now, except for left and rights. But Moore has I feel like a full season of Moore is going to be really interesting, and it might be because he ends up being fantastic, and it might be because we see a different side of him having him for a full season instead of having him make a huge transition halfway through the year. But Moore feels like a really interesting unknown to me because he feels like an unknown that could absolutely turn into this two-hole destroyer, and that would, I don't know. I really liked what I saw out of him last year in fits and starts, even though he had a lot of rough spots when he would kind of get his command to tighten down a little bit. Moore was really, really fun to watch, and so I would like to see him move out of that 4 spot, or at least I would like to see him pitch like he should move out of that 4 spot because I feel like their potential is there, but I definitely can see why you would guess he'd start 4. No. I like Matt Moore, guys.
Well, yeah, no, he's like I want him to be the silent assassin this year. We're nicknaming people, so he's going to be the silent assassin. Well, I mean, these pitchers, they're going to piggyback off each other this year. Bum will have a good game. Then Cueto will have a good game. Then Moore will have a good game. Then Samardzija will have an okay game. Then Blanco will have a good game. And it'll go on and on, you know?
It's we're back to the era of everybody pushes each other to be better than the next guy.
Yeah, we really are. And, Cueto's personality helped add to that. Even Samardzija's personality helped add to that. They got a good group of guys. I'm really, with the moves that they made, it looks like the team's shaping up pretty well. We got baseball in, 8 days, is it?
They're recording next week, yeah. In fact,
I
want to talk about this week, guys. So FanFest is this Saturday, February 11th at AT&T Park. So I personally am not going to be there. Ben, are you going to be there at FanFest?
No, I'm not going to be able to make it. I will be doing ye old working.
Ye old working. No,
ye old working, which is much
thoughts.
like ye new working, but always the same.
I wanted to be there for interviews and those kinds of things, but that's not going to happen. However, the day before, Friday, February 10th, is Media Day. So I will be there, and I will be there with microphone in hand to interview the players. And so what I want to do is open up to the listeners here. Any questions you want me to ask the players, I will consider, not actually going to ask if it's something racy, but if you want something to be asked of these players, please send me an email, a tweet, a Facebook to TortureCast at gmail.com or on our Twitter at TortureCast or Facebook as well, because I'm going to be up there just seeing what happens. I
got a question.
The last 5 years. You have a question?
Yeah, I got a question you can ask. You got to ask Melancon if he likes the nickname Milk Chocolate.
Oh, boy.
Oh.
Milk chocolate, baby. M&M.
Oh. God, that's it, guys. I quit the podcast. I
can't do it.
He's white, so it's funny. All right.
So it's like funny because he lacks melanin. Melancon. What?
Oh, man.
Oh, man. Chad, I didn't think you could make that any worse.
I did.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, Chad, I did. You're a dad. It's built in now.
It is.
Stupid dad jokes. I know.
Yeah, I make those, and I'm not a dad to anything. It's just, it can only be worse when you're an actual dad.
So Chad will be at Media Day on Friday.
Yes. Send us your questions. Send us your potential nicknames.
Tell me if
Send
you
us
like
your questions about potential nicknames.
Tell me if you like milk chocolate. Send Chad. Tweet at TortureCast. Tell Chad that I want to know if Melancon wants to be called Milk Chocolate this season. Help me out, TortureCast listeners.
I sense an awful hashtag coming.
Oh boy, I'm not going to do that. So
I'm ready for baseball, man. I am so ready.
you know what? This is the time of year that I get so happy. I really do. February, they always call it the deadest year or the deadest month of sports. You know, it's nothing's going on after the Super Bowl, and that's partially true. But I get excited, man. This is when the page turns. This is when we get excited about the national pastime. This is when I don't know. I just
Baseball
love this sport.
is coming.
Love this sport. And, you know, when we're in August, I go, oh, God damn it. Baseball's still going.
Right. At some point, you're just like, oh, there's.
How did the Giants blow another 9-game lead? What the hell's going on?
I actually thought about that. I was thinking about, like, you know, I'm so excited about baseball, but then I realize how many times over how many years we've been doing this podcast where I'm thinking of, like, they blew another game. God damn it. You know? And, like, it's hard to go to sleep. That was, you know,
right.
It's nice to not have had that feeling over the last 6 months. I don't know. I'm just saying. It's kind of nice. But, you know, spring's eternal.
I miss the everyday. I miss the everyday routine. I miss being able to put on a ball game at night. You know, there's so many times it's 10 o'clock here, my time, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready for not a Giants game. You know, so it'll be good to have that as part of the regular routine.
Oh, yeah. Good. It's almost time for there's no baseball on.
Yeah,
guess I'll watch more MLB Network for no reason.
Hockey and basketball is winding down, and that means that baseball is winding up. So it's a good time. It's the best time of the year, I think, because no one's out of it, and everyone's excited. So
this is when we start
Go ahead.
the odd year run. It's odd year run.
The odd year run, yes. We broke the even year run last year, so clearly the odd year run is about to start. 17, 19, and 21. Here we go. God, that sounded weird.
Winner, chicken dinner.
That was awkward. Anyway.
Yep.
21.
So awkward. So awkward.
Forget it.
So yeah, I'll be at Media Day this Friday. If anyone is going to FanFest on Saturday, February 11th, please tweet us, send us some emails, Facebook us. We'd love to see your pictures and your stories about your autograph hell. To get that for autograph from Gorkys Hernandez, or
Gorkys.
Sorry, I can't help it.
If you get an autograph from Gorkys Hernandez, send it to Eric. He will clearly be overjoyed.
I've seen I've seen people in line for Buster Posey and seen that rotate to Ron Wotus. So I've seen the disappointment in some fans.
It's horrible.
We love Ron Wotus, but standing in line for Ron Wotus is different.
Hey, everybody, it's Ron Wotus. Everybody turns around and walks away.
Doesn't everybody love Ron Wotus? How did I move up in line so fast all of a sudden? Because that's crazy. Oh my God, it's Ron Wotus. This is great.
Oh, it's happened, and it's so fun to watch. Anyway.
So which bench is the hardest, Coach? Sorry. I mean,
what is it like coaching benches? Do they just stay still, or do they really give you a lot of... Do they get bored?
Is it hard to keep the bench down in the dugout?
Are they really expressive? They seem kind of wooden.
Is it harder in Colorado because of the, altitude? So...
Is it more difficult to be on the bench in Colorado because the air is thinner? I feel like you spend a lot of time out in the open air on that bench, and there's just not enough oxygen. Are you okay? How do you get through those strips?
There's going to be one person listening to this podcast, and they're going to be like, "Oh, son of a bitch, it happened." Screw you guys. I've seen it, guys. Okay, so anyway, do your research, get your spots. Make sure you're not 30 minutes into a Buster Posey signing, because you will not get it. You will get Ron Wotus. I'm just saying right now. Anyway, look for those interviews. We'll try to interview as many players as we can, and we are going to be suddenly active. Suddenly, off-season is over. We're going to be podcasting quite a bit. Hopefully, I'm planning to go down to spring training this year. I don't know if you guys are.
I'm not going to make it this year, unfortunately.
Yeah. If anyone,
Next year,
you know, I'll open up a Kickstarter if anyone wants to donate. But anyway, that's not going to happen.
GoFundMe. Send me to spring training for the podcast on which I make dad jokes.
Not going to happen.
Want more dad
right.
jokes?
Yeah.
Send me to spring training.
Yeah. Do you want dad jokes that I levy at the players? Send me to spring training and then watch their faces.
I could add puns to my arsenal. We could do dad jokes and puns. It's a total package.
Oh my god. Oh, dad puns. That's the worst. You can't if you
edited, you know.
We're just gonna have to start a podcast that's just dad puns, guys. What else do you do with this?
Okay. You do that research. All right, so you can follow us collectively at TortureCast. You can like us on Facebook and, of course, YouTube. You can follow us individually. Myself at ChadK21, Ben at Fried Duck, the absent Willie at Willie Dills, and, of course, Eric at 2 Out Hits. That's with the number 2. So for Ben and for Eric, this is Chad signing off on episode 115. We'll see you on episode 116. Boom.
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at TortureCast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.